Welcome to the Sports Card Lessons Podcast. I'm your host, Big Ken. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on a streaming service, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. You'll be notified whenever I drop any new content. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Happy Sunday. I hope everyone's having a great weekend. This weekend and next weekend, the two most stressful fantasy weekends of the year. And if you watch Red Zone and you listen to my guy Scott Hansen, he would call this the witching hour, where wins become losses and losses become wins. This is where the biggest upsets of the fantasy year happen. Somebody who just makes it into the playoffs and then just goes on a nice run. And this weekend, the weekend before the championship, this is the weekend that somebody who is comfortable thinking I'm going straight to the championship. His opponent is going to have one or two players that is going to go off this weekend and knock them out. And you're going to hear about that story all year long. I've done it. It's happened to all of us. So that's why it's the most nerve-wracking weekends, right? Just hoping you can get through and get to the championship. You just have to sit back, let it unfold, because at this point, there's nothing. If you've put the work in like I have, you've done it all. You just have to sit back and hope that, it's like coaching a team, right? You've done everything you can, and now you've sent your team on the field, and you hope you've done your job well enough that they can come out with the win. Even screaming at the TV. Can't help you here, right? But it's definitely a great weekend of football. You think about it. I was looking up the schedule, right, for all the games. We had football Saturday, Sunday, which is today, Monday, tomorrow night's game. Wednesday is Christmas Day, then again on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday again. So in the next 10 days, we have 7 days of NFL football. It doesn't get any better than that, right? And not even to mention the college football playoffs. So, even after, this week, so much sports. I mean, literally Friday night and yesterday with the college and the NFL, and even last night, if you follow the women's basketball, USC at UConn was another great game last night. Very close, went down to the end. My girl Juju Watkins against my other girl Paige Beckers, right? So it was you're hoping that they both go off and do well. So let's jump into today's episode. A listener reached out to me in the comments last week and said, I'm switching to college stuff. Maybe not the upside, but price points allow for more risk taking. And it got me thinking, where do we find the best value? Where do we find the best value? Where is the most upside, and how much risk does it come with? Because if you're in this hobby, in any aspect of this hobby, right, we're looking for the best value, right? We're looking for the most upside, and we're hoping it comes with as little risk as possible. So where do we find that value? Where do we get that upside, and how much risk does it come with? I have a number of listeners that whenever I touch on this subject, they swear by breaks. Some say the only way to go is the high end, pick your team, high risk, high reward. Some say, just buy the cheap teams in the higher end breaks. It's also risky, but there's always one-on-ones coming out of that, or low numbered stuff. You never know what you're going to hit. You can't chase the rookies, they say. If you chase the rookies, it's just too much risk. Some would rather, pay a little less and just hope for either random teams or random divisions, right? Everybody pays the same, and you hope you hit the team or the divisions that have the rookies in it that could produce, a nice RPA or something like that. Some buy the boxes themselves. You opening up the sealed wax, whether it's single boxes or buying it by the case. That seems to be coming more popular, right? For the case hit, where everybody wants to buy the cases of the blasters or the megas or even the hobbies, right? Because you're chasing after the case hit. And I think on the opposite end, right, it used to be like, and I'll just give you the Donruss, for example. It used to be, one downtown in every case of the blasters of the Donruss, right? But now Donruss this year, they've come out with a number of other case hits. So when you're opening up, you're not guaranteed a downtown in the case anymore, and at the beginning of the year when people were opening up, they're like, "Hey, case hit is still alive. We're chasing after this with the blasters." And then come to find out the case hit, it could be the downtown, but it's probably not the downtown. It's a number of other case hits they're putting in these cases now. Um, Others say, forget all that. Just buy the card. Right? Just buy the card. Don't worry about chasing and breaks and maybe get it and maybe not get it. This, that. You want the card, just go buy the card. Um, and from personal experience, I could probably tell you it's cheaper and more cost effective to just buy the card, right? But I think most of us just can't help ourselves, and we keep going back to the riskier ways of the hobby to acquiring cards, and I have to say I think that's part of the hobby, right? I try to explain to people, especially people who don't know the hobby, when I start to explain what a break is, and then I get into a break and I don't get anything. And they're like, what the hell just happened? You lost all your money, right? And I'm like, well, it's part of the hobby, right? We all hobby differently, right? And then some of us, take more risk than others. Um, but the high risk, the riskier ways, it certainly does add up fast, especially if you're not hitting any big cards or anything. You could say, okay, I put this amount of money in, but hey, I hit this big card and it kind of I made my money back, right? And you hear people saying all the time, which is, you know I always relate this to the casino, right? I used to go to the casino a lot, and I used to have a lot of friends at the casino. And they say, "Oh, I went up," and I say, "Hey, how'd you do?" I did okay. I'm down a little, or I broke even, and we all know down a little means you lost your shirt, right? uh, Broke even means you're going home with less than you came with, right? Uh, and people get really excited to go home with the money they came with, right? And I know that. I know that from personal experience. You go with this amount of money, right? You have to think in your mind as it's a form of entertainment, right? So like I'm going to the movies or I'm going to a concert. I'm spending that money. I'm not spending that money going to the concert, hopefully I get the money back, right? I'm going to be entertained. Right. So that's kind of the mindset. A good mindset for the casino is you're going to be entertained. So you're leaving with the same amount of money you went, it's a win because you didn't lose anything, right? Um, and it's a lot of what these breaks, right? It's a lot of the same thing. Are we being entertained? Is this the entertainment of the hobby, getting into the breaks? Because as you know, I did a little stretch on Whatnot, and I'll tell you that these guys were pretty entertaining, right? A number of some of them weren't so good, but there were other guys that were really cut out for this kind of type of work. So, they were somewhat entertaining. But it certainly did add up fast, and if you weren't hitting any big cards, it you know, you start developing L's pretty quickly. I've tried about every avenue of acquiring cards. And I've done well at times, and I've been skunked at times, and I'm always the guy that'll come out here and tell you. I'm always be honest with you. It's what happens with me. I just assume come out, and it's not that I'm saying, oh, this bad thing happened to me, you should never do this. No, no, not at all, not at all. Just giving you information, right? Just saying, hey, these are the things that happen to me, and this is why I'm not going to go back and do this. This is why I'm doing this more, right? But it's part of my hobby. It's how I hobby, and I'm just happy to provide the information from it. And I'll be the first to say, if this were a business, a true business, and there was a bottom line, um, a lot of things would have to be incorrect, would have to be corrected, right? To improve the bottom line, a lot of changes would have to be made. Um, but it's not a business, right? It's a hobby. And again, like I just compared it to a form of entertainment, right? Um, I get messages from friends in the hobby telling me they need a whatnot intervention. Um, and they're joking, right? They're joking. They're saying to me, "Hey, I like this whatnot, but I got crushed." Just like my guy who went to the casino and said, "I did not do well at all," right? But it's not going to stop them from going back, right? Because that's what they like to do. That's what they want to spend their money on, right? And the same here, the same with the whatnot. It's not that they truly need an intervention. They're making more light of it. Like, hey, I didn't do too well last time on it. Doesn't mean they're not going back. Just means, hey, I didn't do too well. And I saw, when the WNBA came out, and I don't mean to beat down on whatnot. I had a bad experience on whatnot, right? I had an episode talking about a whatnot hangover. Uh, and it felt like when I was on whatnot, I was on a heater, like I was hitting all these cards, but it didn't turn out so good, right? Because it sounded good hitting all these colored and numbered cards, but when I actually got those cards in my possession, and it also took me a long time to get those cards in my possession, um, I started looking up, the actual comps, and then I realized how poorly I did. Right? And I haven't been back since. Not saying that I'm not doing all kinds of other things in the hobby. I just felt like that I didn't do well there, and there's enough things for me to do that I don't need to go back to that well. I have enough. There's plenty of avenues, right, for me to find cards. Uh, I have a regular place I jump into breaks, and it's more based on the product that they're breaking. Whenever they come out with football, any new product, I usually jump in, so I may jump in maybe 2 or 3 times in a month, and a couple months may go by because there's no football releases. They may be doing baseball, they may be doing, other things and things that I'm not interested in, or I don't need to jump in. So, I keep updated on what they're breaking, and then I'll jump in, when they're opening something that I want to be in. I recently jumped into a Panini Black, a half case break, right? Random divisions. I kind of like the random divisions because it gives you 4 teams, right? You may do well, you may not do well. I've been up and down in these. And then the divisions are a little bit more expensive because you're splitting these, whatever you're doing, you're splitting it 8 ways, right? Instead of 32 ways or things like that. In this couple weekends ago, I jumped in on this half case break and I hit this Jermaine Burton Black. It's a 1 of 1, right? And hold that up if you're on YouTube. Obviously, I had the AFC North, um, but realistically, I only hit 3 cards in that break, and I hit this 1 of 1, and then I hit 2 other, cards that maybe will make my dollar box, right? A Nick Chubb base and a Michael Hall was numbered to, I think, 35 or something like that, right? So risk reward on something like that. In fact, I didn't even realize what the value was on this one-on-one until I got it and looked it up, and I was pleasantly surprised, right? And then I'm like, hey, I did all right. But you never know. You never know when you get in. I think that's the attraction to get in there. But if it wasn't for that one big card, that would have been a swing and a miss. But it wouldn't have stopped me from going back because it hasn't in the past, right? You can't expect, like, I don't expect to hit those every single time, but every now and then I hit a nice card and it kind of makes up for the. But it's not something I could continue to do daily or weekly. Um, and I know most people, and I was this person too. You get a big hit and a break. You hit a big card, and you hit a big card. Uh, it's hard just to take that one hit and go away, right? It's easy to say, "Hey, I'm up now. Let's keep going. Let's keep that streak alive." Right? I know I've been there. I've done that, and generally that streak never keeps going. Um, I have a number of hobby friends who have also talked about similar situations, of hitting something big, and then going and then being like, oh, I should have never kept going. I should have took my cards and went home, right? Or stopped. Let's face it, it doesn't help when at any moment, at any time of the day, night, all you need is an internet connection, and you can be getting into breaks. You could be buying cards on eBay or other auction sites, scrolling through Facebook groups, Discords. It's all right here at our fingertips, right? Instant gratification. And I do it all day long, right? No matter what I'm doing, if I go out and I hop back in the car and I stop and I scroll through my phone, see what's new, see if there's anybody posted anything up in a Facebook group I may want. If there was something I was watching on eBay, something I'm selling on eBay. But it really comes down to that instant gratification, right? And this is the reason the hobby grew so fast and there's so much money in the hobby now, right? It is just so easy to buy something with internet and being able to pay so quickly, log your credit card in, you're good to go. But if I go back to the original question, where do we find the best value? Do we agree it's if we buy the card? That if you just wait and just buy the card you want. But is there upside to that? If we're just buying the card, if it's going into our PC, that's fine, right? But if we're buying this more hoping that the value is going to go up, a prospecting, right? An investment, right? When we buy the card, hope it's going to come up. We have to sit on that card and hope it matures over time. I do that all the time. I mean, that's my thing here. Buying cards, holding on to cards here. And I'll just give you, for instance, two more cards. I'll show you later. I'll show you now. I mean, two more Kiki Rice cards I just got came in the mail this week. Blue Refractor to 99, PSA 10. And this is Purple Shimmer Refractor, PSA 10. Right. So here in this instance where I was trying to buy the boxes that these cards come out of and open them up, and I was having a good time opening them, then I realized for the amount it costs for me just to go out and find these cards already graded in the PSA 10, it's a lot less than the box I bought. Where these two cards would have come out of the same Bowman University box, right? Now the chances of these two being in the same box, but I bought both of these cards graded PSA 10 for less than I would have bought the box that came out of. So in this sense, for me, it makes sense just to buy those cards already graded a PSA 10. I don't have to do anything else with those cards. If I bought the box and pulled these cards, I have to hope they're going to gem. It costs me money to ship. It costs me money to grade, right? There's a lot going on there. In this case, to me, it just makes more sense to buy these already a 10, right? And put them aside, wait for them to mature. No problem with that. Um, where's the most upside? Where's the most upside? Is it in the breaks? Is it in ripping the boxes yourself? It depends on what you want to do, because you could say yes to either of those or both those, right? There's a lot of upside if you're buying into the right breaks. And again, I said back at the beginning, people say if you're in the pick your team, go out and if you're chasing, the Bo Nix or the Drake May or the Jaden Daniels, right? Caleb Williams, yeah, just buy that team. Just keep buying that team. It's going to pay off. It will pay off over time. This is and that sounds like a lot of what I'm doing with buying these cards and putting them away, saying that money will pay off. That money should mature over time. Um, and even if you're opening boxes, eventually you're going to hit nice cards. You're going to hit nice cards. It just and especially if you buy them by the case. I mean, I've probably I don't get the opportunity to buy many sealed cases of stuff. I buy a lot of the singles and I buy a lot of like the retail boxes and things like that. But I think the most value, my thought, just my opinion, the most value if you don't buy a sealed case, there's a lot of, there's a lot of good hits in those boxes, right? So you may, you buy retail, you buy 6 boxes. I've been buying the Donruss stuff. I mean, I've been buying 6 or 9 boxes at a time, really not getting anything out of them. But certainly not buying sealed cases either. I was thinking about it until I realized that Donruss has come up with 2 or 3 different case hits in these boxes, and I realized I had 3 case hits that I didn't even know were case hits, right? So, um, what are you paying on ripping, right? If you're lucky, we see these guys online, they say, "Hey, I bought 2 blasters, and look, I got this downtown." And you have somebody like me saying, "I opened up 40 blasters, and I got nothing," right? So, there's a lot of luck involved in there, but at the end of the day, are you paying 2x, 5x, 10x for that big card if you're ripping? But then we go back to the entertainment factor, right? Because that's huge. For me, that is huge entertainment. When I get these boxes, and my wife gets excited when I come home with these boxes and I put them on the dining room table. I mean, she knows we're going to be opening these boxes and she gets excited to open them. It is an entertainment value to her as much as it is to me now, right? So, and it's something we're doing together, right? So and it's part of the hobby. So, um, there's more to it. What I'm trying to say is there's more to it than just the dollar value, right? There's a lot of entertainment value. But it does come with risk. It does come with risk. And it's always a letdown, right? It's always a letdown. You get these boxes, if you rip, oh, I'm pulling bangers out of these boxes, and you open them up and you're like, damn, I didn't get nothing. So, I went to the Plainville show Saturday morning, a local show here in Connecticut. And, the college football playoffs this weekend have been going on. And I saw a bunch of people with college football cards in their cases, more than I've seen in a long time, or maybe ever. Uh, I know the basketball did very well last year, especially the women's. And I think in part because it brought a lot of new collectors, a lot of new people into the hobby who were buying those cards, because they came because of Caitlin Clark or because of, the women's basketball, what was going on last year. But for the football, historically, the football cards, the college cards, the draft cards, the value tanks as soon as the player comes out and their first pro uniform card. As soon as that first card comes out, nobody wants them in a college uniform anymore, ever. Now that may change, that certainly may change. But for me, I would be a little worried investing too much money into, or any money into, a college football quarterback or a college football player, right? That is hoping to be drafted this spring in the NFL, because there's a very short window for that. And I know a few other people have said to me, because they know I've been doing the college women's basketball, they said, you know what? I'm going to buy some of these. I want to buy some of these autographed college players cards, get them graded, and then sell them as fast as I can, just to try to test that market and see what happens there. Yeah, 100%. That could work out very well for you. Um, but with I'll stick to the college basketball. I'm not going to go too much into the football, because I think the collectors and the buyers on the football market are not going to put too much money into those, or they're just going to wait for the the pro uniform cards to come out. I do have a couple Arch Manning cards that I put aside, that I'll sell those next year when he's a starter. Certainly not going to hold those until the draft. Those will go when I know he's playing and his value is at the right point. I'll sell those cards. But again, other cards that I bought, put away, and hope they mature. I bought those graded. But even though with the WNBA, was talking about the NCAA women's college stuff, the WNBA cards, they're out. The select, with the Caitlin Clark and that whole rookie class, the select has been out. The Prism is releasing soon, but I still see the Caitlin Clark, the college cards are selling for a decent price. The Origins cards, the select cards, they're all selling, but it kind of feels almost that it right now it's Caitlin or bust, right? Like with a lot of those there, a lot of those cards did not hold much value at all. It was really, you really needed to pull a Caitlin Clark. Outside of that, what wax in general, one of the things I've noticed with the football this year, with the 2024 release, the Donruss, the Mosaic, in the past, there's generally like a big wave. All the retail stores will have it. People will be online, it'll be sold out immediately. Trying to buy it, it'll be sold out in minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, and it's going live at like 6:30 in the morning, things like that. So everybody's having a hard time getting them. The people were wiping out the retail stores and selling them, aftermarket on the secondary market for, and at the shows as well. And they would dry up quickly, right? They would dry up quickly. And then the more they dried up, the more you'd have to pay if you wanted to get into that, knowing the new product was coming, if you still wanted something to rip before the new product came. But this year has been a little different. I was just still seeing wave after wave after wave of these Donruss blasters coming out. It's like they're never running out. The shelves at Target and at Walmart, they just keep restocking these things on the shelves. And then I go in and I see them sitting on the shelves, and I'm like, it's not a good sign when nobody's buying these, when they're still sitting on the shelf now, when you can go in and see these retail products sitting there. And a number of different places are selling these boxes in large quantities, including Amazon. The week after Thanksgiving, Amazon had Donruss blasters, $23.99, free delivery, and you could order as many as you want, right? I know people who were buying 20 or 40, hoping for sealed cases. I don't know if they actually got the sealed cases or not, but being able to buy them at $23.99 on Amazon. I mean, when was the last time we were able, to buy a wax that, somebody would want to open, just buy it straight through Amazon? I just went back and checked before to see what they're selling at. Now they're up to $49. So the price is raised up. So I'm sure all the, whatever that initial wave, whatever they had, that, they sold out of those $23.99 ones. But other places like Dick's and GameStop, Amazon, they're all selling by the case, which tells me that if you don't hit the downtown, like I was talking about earlier, there's almost no value in those boxes. Even when I'm building my soup boxes, right? I'm putting those cards in where, they're in dollar boxes, rookie cards in dollar boxes, and they're really not selling that well, not as well as they have in the past, right? I know Prism Hobby was just released. I've been waiting for, the Prism Blasters and Megas, but I'm worried that they may be as overproduced as the Donruss stuff and the Mosaic stuff. I mean, the chase in those, right, is to hit the silver prisms of these rookie quarterbacks, but they may not be holding the value like they've had in the past. So it's you got to grade it quick, get it to market, or just get it to market. Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see when that happens. What do you think as we close out 2024 and we look forward to 2025? Are you going to continue to do what you've been doing? Have you seen anything or heard anything or thought that things are changing? I may need to switch it up, or business as usual. What I'm doing is working. It's entertaining. I'm having fun. It's sustainable. And I'm going to continue to do it right on through 2025. No changes for me. Or do you need to make a change of what you've been doing? Where do you find your best value in acquiring cards? Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. It's always I'm big at the end of the year and in the new year to look forward, kind of put this year's stuff to bed and start with the new stuff next year. And I always think we need to do something a little different and a little different, a little different. That if we try to continue doing the same thing, we're going to get left behind. So. Next episode will drop Thursday morning. That I'm going to have a guest on. That's a pre-recorded with a guest. And Friday, the 27th, I'll be set up at the New Britain show here in Connecticut. It's a Friday night show. So I'm looking forward to that. And I'll be back Sunday with a brand new episode. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. And if you like what you hear, please definitely subscribe. And most importantly, tell a friend and spread the word. Until next time, take care of yourselves and everyone around you.